everybody, and welcome into another episode of The Big Hit. As always, I'm your host, Tim Quigley. We've got a great show lineup for you all today. We're going to start off with some NCAA. We're going to trickle into some NFL. Which quarterback deserves to get benched more, Mike Vick or Mark Sanchez? We're going to answer that one for you later in the show. Also have some MLB World Series recap as the Giants win their second title in 3 years. Going to talk a little NBA too, as that season's just now starting as of Tuesday, I believe. And we're going to end it with a favorite segment of mine I love to call NFL Pick'em. But like I said, first we're going to kick things off with some NCAA football. Joining me now in the middle, Mike the Goose Gosnell. On the end, Freddie Mitchell. We love to call this segment The First Cut. And let's just kick it right off here, guys. NCAA football. I'm going to apologize to some of the viewers out there right now. We're going to talk about Marcus Lattimore. And if you didn't know about Marcus Lattimore, he suffered a horrific dislocation of the knee. And I know, Freddie, you saw it live. I don't know if you saw it live, because you did. I didn't, but I've had a horrible injury like that, not to my leg, but to my arm. And I know Josh Carney, the producer up in the booth right now, he's had a leg injury too, and we can all feel for him. But guys, Freddie, I want to start it out with you. How is this going to hurt South Carolina in the long run, and is there a potential that the Gamecocks could potentially redshirt him to bring him back next year?
I mean, in the long run, obviously it's going to hurt them. He's a leader on that team. He's probably one of the best running backs in the NCAA right now. He has 622 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns. I mean, I saw this hit live, and you felt for the kid. He already hurt his knee a couple of years ago. Now he hurts it again. But I think one good thing coming out of this was, if you watching the game, you saw all of the South Carolina players come out, all the Tennessee players come out. The entire stadium was up cheering for him, getting off the field, giving him they were respecting him and showing him some sportsmanship, which I thought was great. To see him get redshirted, I don't know. It's hard to say. You don't know how long it's going to take for him to come back, or what he wants to do. Does he want to get redshirted? Does he want to just rehab, maybe try to go to the NFL? It's up to him, I think. It's just time was going to tell to see what he's going to do about getting redshirted. I think it's going to be a choice up to him and the coaches.
Yeah, it definitely could be a choice up to him. And to draw a comparison to this kind of injury, I believe Willis McGahee suffered something very similar to it. I believe when he was back in Miami, the University of Miami, I think it was the national title game.
Not sure.
It was somewhere later around there. He had the same kind of injury, but again, a guy who overcame it, went to the NFL, and has had a subpar, pretty decent career within the NFL.
I would say so.
But Goose, what are your opinions on Lattimore if South Carolina can go on without him and the potential of him coming back next year?
Well, the injury, dislocated knee?
It's officially a dislocated knee.
There was speculation at one point that it was he broke his femur, and he tore all four ligaments in his knee. Well, now, thank goodness it's a dislocated knee. But as far as South Carolina, I think they can rebound. I mean, Steve Spurrier's offense ran through Marcus Lattimore, and Connor Shaw, that puts more pressure on him. I mean, they have to get going, and their schedule's really favorable, except for their last game. They have Arkansas and Wofford at home, and I know Wofford's a big opponent. Then they go to Death Valley and in Clemson. They call it Death Valley there too. But they should win out. They could win out the rest of their games, but I don't see that. I think they lose to Clemson. But as far as Marcus Lattimore being redshirted, I think that's the right thing to do. I mean, he needs to come back from this injury. He shouldn't jump to the NFL right away with this injury. He needs to stay one more year in college. I think that's the right decision for both South Carolina and Marcus Lattimore's draft stock as well.
Well, it comes down to a question of, do you want to get draft stock, or do you want to be able to walk?
Right.
And, if you're going to suffer, more than likely he's not going to suffer that same kind of injury again. That's like one of those freak injuries and a different angle on the hit.
It was helmet to the head,
it was just a weird kind of tackle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unfortunately, Lattimore got the bad end of it. But
right.
And South Carolina could use this as motivation. They could use, without Marcus Lattimore, they could win these games for Marcus Lattimore, as they say. I mean,
their quarterback said, he's like, oh, well, we played the second half for Marcus. We did that for him.
Don't be surprised if South Carolina wins out.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I think realistically 9-3. I think they'll lose to Clemson. And then it just depends who they get in the bowl game. Depends who they play in the bowl game. We'll see what happens there, what kind of matchup they get. And they're either going to finish 9-3, 9-4. They're gonna have a decent season.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, we'll keep tabs, or we'll keep a close eye on South Carolina and their progress throughout the rest of the season, and a potential bowl game, but that's a future show, different segment down the road. Guys, let's shift gears a little bit. We've got 2 undefeated teams still in the BCS. Number 2, Kansas State beat Texas Tech 55-14. Number 3, Notre Dame beating Oklahoma in a game that everybody thought would be a lot closer than the 30-13 final outcome in favor of Notre Dame. And I want to ask you guys, which one of these 2 teams actually has a better shot of going undefeated, Notre Dame or Kansas State?
I would personally put my money on Kansas State to go undefeated, just because if you look at the schedule, Notre Dame has to play USC at USC. In the past, we've seen it happen before. USC beats Notre Dame, ruins their season a little bit. And then Kansas State only has Texas left on their schedule as a big opponent left. So I'm definitely going to if I had to put my money somewhere, it'd be on Kansas State.
Well, I would actually put my money on Notre Dame. I think their schedule is very favorable. I don't think that USC is the team that many people thought they were. I think they went out. I mean, they have Pitt coming up, Boston College, Wake Forest, USC. As far as K-State, Oklahoma State's a bit of a I don't know, a wild card, I guess you could say. I mean, they're not the team they were last year, but they're still there. And they're the only thing Kansas State has going for it is that it's at home.
Right.
But you can't count out K-State. They have Colin Klein. But Oklahoma State's going to be tough. They go to TCU. They go to Baylor.
They do. It's a
Big
toss-up.
Big 12's not known for playing defense.
Right.
And Kansas State's
you get one
really
of those
the
games,
only
it's a
team.
shootout. You never know what could happen. Whoever has the ball last.
Exactly. But Notre Dame, I think, has the better chance of going undefeated.
Better chance, maybe, but Kansas State also has potential Heisman favorite quarterback. Can't think of the first name.
Colin Klein.
Colin Klein, thank you, Gibbs. Again, he showed that, going into the one game, I'm drawing a complete blank. Who did they play last week?
Texas Tech.
Texas Tech.
Right.
Yeah, but I got it right here on my notes. Brain fart. But, yeah, I mean, Colin Klein come out and he showed that he can run, he can throw, and he's got a pretty accurate arm. Some say he's a right-handed, more accurate. Goose, you're going to hate this comparison, but Tim Tebow.
Do you have to bring his name up?
No.
It's a detriment to any player to even be compared to Tim Tebow.
Okay, okay, that's a different argument for a different time. We're not going to go on here and say anything about Tim Tebow as we're getting the evil eye from the booth. Excuse me.
Specifically, Josh Carney.
Well, we're not going to drop names here. Guys, I want to jump into the top 5 here of the BCS. We got number 1, Alabama. They've been there for the whole year, ever since, I believe, preseason.
Alabama's Alabama.
Bama's Bama. Number 2, K-State. Number 3, Notre Dame. Number 4, Oregon. Number 5, LSU, as you can see on the graphic up on the TV. Great job there on the graphic. Do you guys agree with this top 5 at all? Freddie, I'm going to start down with you. Do you agree with it? Would you reorder it? You got Georgia sitting at 6, who just knocked off Florida. Would they be number 5? I mean, we're starting to get to a good point of the season here.
Right. It's going to come down. It's going to come down to the end. BCS always comes down to the end. But I agree with it right now. I think with Notre Dame, they should have jumped Oregon. Oregon played Colorado. Yeah, they beat them, but Notre Dame went into Oklahoma and beat them up pretty good. So I mean, I think that's a reasonable jump. I think LSU is a fair at 5. Then you have Georgia at 6. Who just beat Florida, who's at 7. I think that's all reasonable right now. Those are all SEC teams. SEC, is obviously the toughest conference. I agree with what it is as of right now.
I agree with the top 4. I would actually switch out Georgia and LSU. I'd put Georgia number 5. But going back to what you say in Oregon, there is controversy as why Oregon's keep dropping. Because they've beaten nobody.
Right, their strength schedule is poor.
They've beaten Colorado 70-13, I believe, and Colorado has not been a decent football team since the days of Cordell Stewart.
Right, their strength schedule is very weak, and that's why people keep jumping.
But I would honestly switch out LSU, Georgia, put Georgia 5, and I think the top 4 are right where they should be.
Right. I mean, we're gonna see what happens this week, though. I mean, Alabama, LSU this week, so that's gonna shake it up. That's gonna shake it up.
A lot of Notre Dame fans you've got to be hoping if you're a Notre Dame or a K-State fan, LSU goes in and beats Bama, because that's the only way Bama could ever drop. If
LSU needs to win.
Yeah, LSU needs to win.
If you're K-State or Notre Dame.
And if you're a Georgia fan, you're hoping that USC beats Oregon, because that's the big matchup this week too. So
There's a lot of key matchups.
A lot of big matchups in football this week. So.
It's the BCS. It always comes down to the last week, who wins, who loses. It always comes down to the end.
Now, okay, I want to ask you guys too. Like we said, we've got Georgia at 6, Florida at 7. I'm throwing this one at you right now, but is there anybody sitting on the outside looking in who could potentially find a way into top 5?
Maybe Georgia. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think Florida's gonna get their way back in. Florida probably finished with 2 losses. It's tough to say. I couldn't give you.
I mean, I know trying to figure out the BCS right now.
Right,
Trying to look too far ahead because you can't do that.
Can't do that. You gotta see who wins and loses. It's tough to say.
I would agree with you. I think Georgia has the better chance.
I think they have the best chance of getting in.
They'll probably play Alabama in the SEC championship game.
Right. I mean, Alabama's. I'm gonna say going here on a limb. They're probably gonna beat LSU. LSU's gonna drop.
It's in Death Valley though.
If Georgia wins this week, they move up to 5. It just all depends. You can't just. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Got to see what happens. The BCS, always a waiting game, and unfortunately, I have to wait to see these guys when they're on air next time. In the middle, Mike Gosnell. On the end, Freddie Mitchell. Up next, going to move up to the professional leagues, NFL football. Coming up next, keep it locked into the big hit.
I'm a big believer in the power of we. We can tackle the tough challenges we face and build community through service and volunteering. It's time for you to raise your hand. Go to serve.gov and get involved in something you believe in.
How will you raise your hand when they call your name?
Are you with me?
We weren't born to follow.
And welcome back into the big hit. As promised before the break, talking a little NFL. Joining me now in the middle, Tom Nobles, a sharp-dressed man, always is, probably always will be. On the end, I'm not dissing you either. Dimitri George, great red tie. I got to say something about the analyst. So there's that throw.
You got a great new shirt.
A great new shirt, black tie. You know, we're all styling and profiling. Ric Flair, woo. I don't know. That's enough WWE stuff for now. Let's talk some NFL football and actually get into the stuff we're supposed to talk about. Guys, let's start it off here with Philadelphia and, excuse me, the disappointing season that has been the Philadelphia Eagles. They lose to the now undefeated Atlanta Falcons, 30-17. Dimitri, I want to start it down with you. Who's the key player in this Atlanta game? And as I mentioned, the Falcons are still undefeated. Can they make a run and actually go undefeated?
Well, to answer your first question, I believe the key player for the Falcons was Matt Ryan. Their first 3 possessions, they went right down the field, drove, and got touchdowns. Not three points. They actually got down 3 points. Got touchdowns. I'm sorry. And they were able to capitalize the first drive. 16 plays, 80 yards, methodically matriculated the ball down the field with ease. Quite frankly, the Eagles fired Juan Castillo to bring in Todd Bowles to run the defense, and after the first game, people might be questioning that move as well because the defense didn't look like it was able to catch up or even stop the Atlanta Falcons at all. I don't think the Falcons go undefeated. They still have 2 games against the Saints. I know the Saints aren't, they're out without Sean Payton, and they're not the Saints from a couple years past. But I think this division games, they're always tough. They also got to play the Giants. So I don't think they'll go undefeated. No.
Again, Matt Ryan, local Philly boy, absolutely lighting up the Philadelphia defense. Again, Eagles giving up the 30 points. Tom, what do you take out of this game and the key player for Atlanta?
Yeah, to piggyback off what he said, a lot of the same things. I mean, Matt Ryan was 22 of 29 for 3 touchdowns, and he scored on the first 6 possessions, including field goals as well too. And I'm going to give you another name here too. Julio Jones came up big yesterday, had the big touchdown catch against Asamoah, made a really nice play on him. And it's his first. He's had a kind of an up and down year. He had a big game in week 1 and a decent game in week 5. But for him to come in and Roddy White not really having a big game, the Eagles kind of shutting him down. For him to step up and have a big game, that was key for them as well too. And as far as the Falcons going undefeated, it's so hard to do that. And the year that the Patriots had, it's not the same type of offense. The Falcons are explosive, but I don't think it's the same type of explosiveness that the Falcons or that the Patriots had. Like you said, they still have 2 games against New Orleans, which didn't look very good this week, but they still have an explosive offense. And still Tampa Bay as well, too. Tampa Bay's looked pretty well. They just lost Knicks for the year this week, too. But their offense is starting to come around a little bit. Doug Martin's running and catching the ball for that offense. And they still have the Giants as well, too. And against Carolina, which they only lost to the Falcons by 2 points the last time they played them. So they have a lot of divisional games left. So I don't think they go undefeated.
Yeah, as history shows, only 2 teams have gone undefeated. Only 1 team undefeated while winning the Super Bowl. That being the Dolphins, which that was so many years ago now. 72. I thought it was 72 again. That's why I have these guys up here talking NFL, giving the stats. That's why I'm just here asking the questions. Again, moving on, guys. But you guys related to it. The Eagles fired Juan Castillo a few weeks ago, almost as a scapegoat, to say that the defense hasn't shaped up. Maybe if we fire somebody, maybe shape some things up in the entire team. Well, to be quite honest, it really hasn't worked. Rumors going around earlier, Michael Vick has come out and said Andy Reid is mulling over a quarterback change. Do you guys agree with the quarterback change, or do you agree with more of Andy Reid getting fired out of Philadelphia?
I had to say, if I had to say right now, I'd probably say Andy Reid getting fired. I think he's putting his players into not situations to succeed. I think having Michael Vick drop back 40, 50 times a game. He's got taken over 80 hits already in the season. If I feel like they will succeed more if they continue to record the ball, whether it's running, little screenplays in the passing game. It doesn't matter. I think you just paid him to be a top 5 back, and he is a top 5 back. So you need to give him the ball. Help Vic, the running game is going to help Vic stay clean. I just think that Andy Reid, it's been 14 years. They had that ridiculous streak of being undefeated after the bye until this past weekend. I just feel like he's not adjusting to his players, and Michael Vick is not going to sit back there for 5, 7-step drops and going to stay. He wants to hold the ball, and make big plays. It's similar in Pittsburgh. You got to take the good with the bad, but I just feel like Andy Reid is, if things don't turn around, I think he's the man to go.
Yeah, I think that Vic's going to be the first person to go if there's any one to go before the other. I think it's going to be Vic before Reid goes. But with that being said, Jeff Lurie at the beginning of the season said that going 8-8 was not going to be acceptable for this team. And dating back to last year's dream season, they've gone 11-12 since then. And even dating back before that, the big play by Deshaun Jackson, the big punt return against the Giants, they've gone 11-15 since then. So it's not. If they for Lurie to uphold his word, if he's going to uphold his word, 8-8 is not going to be an acceptable season. They're going to have to go 6-3 down the stretch, and I just don't see that happening. So I think at the end of the year, it's not only going to be one, but it's going to be both.
I agree with that. Michael Vick's got to start either one, completing passes, or 2, start being the Michael Vick of Atlanta again, where he's starting to run all over the place. Andy Reid, you can't always blame Andy Reid. The players have kind of fallen off too, but
Vic's just not the same player he was in 2010. It's almost like it was initially in Atlanta. He was this big, this surprise player, this electric player, and he's kind of, I don't know. You can make the excuse of the first time in Atlanta that there was game tape coming out of him now, and defenses were figuring him out, but now there's already been tape on him now for a few seasons, and he's just overthrowing receivers, underthrowing receivers.
So it's a big question mark down in Philadelphia, to say the absolute least. But one place that doesn't have a question mark hanging over its head is the Steel City, home of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They win against the Redskins 27-12. Guys, I want to ask you, is this how the Steelers are going to look the rest of the year, that being with Dwyer in the backfield, Big Ben completing massive passes like he has been? Or did the Redskins kind of fall off this game? As noted, they've had 10 drop passes that whole entire game. So what do you guys think about that?
If you're a Steelers fan, you would hope that that's how they're going to look the rest of the year. I felt like Coach Tomlin said today in his press conference that he felt like that was their most complete game thus far this season. Like you said, Dwyer was the second consecutive game of 100 yards, the first running back, Steelers running back, to do that since 2008 with Willie Parker. I feel like the offensive line's blocking well. Ben didn't get sacked. The Redskins had 1 sack, but it was against Emmanuel Sanders got sacked on a trickeration play. They had a double reverse pass, but Ben's only been sacked I think 13 times this year. So I feel like like I said, the line's starting to play well. They're starting to gel a little bit. Willie Cologne's getting accustomed to his new guard position. Him pouncing inside's nasty. They're starting to pound the rock a little bit. The defense, I felt, pretty much controlled RG3 for the most part. He came in with the most completion percentage at 70. I think he was at I don't know the exact number. I think in the high 50s, low 60s. He didn't run that much on them. The running game was pretty much controlled. They only had 88 yards rushing. So I feel like if they can continue to get the offensive line, keep Ben clean. I mean, they got that Giants front four coming this week, so that'd be a big test for them. So hopefully, if you're, like I said, if you're a Steelers fan, what you want to look like, I'm pretty sure, they're going to do well the rest of the year.
Yeah, and the running game has given his team a real big spark, and Jonathan Dwyer in particular the last 2 weeks. And not to mention Chris Rainey, you might want to dust off that thunder and lightning aspect. He's given him a nice little spark as well, too. But Heath Miller has also been a very big part of this offense as well, too. He has 6 touchdown receptions on the year. And this team could be getting hot at the right time. They have 3 of their 4 wins this year have come at home. They still have 2 more games against Baltimore, and Baltimore's defense isn't what it used to be, especially even before losing Ray Lewis and Ladarius Webb. And the last 4 games of the year for Pittsburgh, they have 3 of their 4 games are at home. So those crucial times when the division race is kind of in the balance there, they have 3 of the 4 games at home, which could prove to be substantial at the end of the year.
So one thing I do like that the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing right now is keeping Dwyer in the backfield. Big guy, probably pushing 230, 235. Real quick feet and really able. Huh?
The minivan.
The minivan, is that his nickname now? The minivan?
They keep saying, he's the bus, a little version of the
bus.
Little
bus, yeah. That's
big guy with
that's a
great
good one.
feet,
Yeah, that's a good thing. It's historically that's always been the Steelers kind of running backs. I think they found the running back for like the next 3 to 4 years. Just my opinion. And guys, I'm going to shift down to one more game. The other team that's got a massive quarterback controversy, that being the New York Jets and their inability to pull out the win against the Dolphins, quite honestly being destroyed 30-9. 30-9 by the Dolphins and rookie quarterback Ryan Tannehill, who got hurt that game. I forget who the backup was that came. Matt Moore comes in, lights up the Jets. And guys, early reports, Sanchez still the starter. I don't know why, but Sanchez still the starter. I understand the fact that if you pull Sanchez, you're forfeiting the season. But I want to ask you, I got to ask you guys, is it Tebow time? And do the Jets, is it Tebow time? And does Tebow deserve to get his chance in New York now?
Well, I think the key thing you said there, for right now, Mark Sanchez is still the starter. Because the more and more he struggles, the more and more the team struggles, that New York is, is New York. They're going to be cheering and yelling for Tim Tebow. And, I think Rex is going to feel the pressure from the fans, from the owners. They want to win. So I think if Mark Sanchez continues to struggle, it's going to be Tebow time. I just feel like they're hesitant to pull the trigger because if they do bench Mark Sanchez, what's going to happen to his psyche? Is his confidence going to go down? Is it going to be if they have to go back to him, if Tebow gets hurt, how's Mark Sanchez going to feel? If they continue to struggle, I think they got to make a switch. And go to Tebow and just see what they have. I mean, they didn't trade for him from nothing, so I mean, they should see what they got in him.
Yeah, I say why not? Sanchez took 7 hits and was sacked 4 times on Sunday, and they have an unfavorable schedule after the bye going down the stretch. They have games against New England and Seattle, and they only have 3 more home games. The rest 5 games away. So, and there's only 1 game behind Miami right now. And if you look at the rest of the standings around the AFC right now, you're probably only going to have maybe 1 team out of the West. It's probably going to be the Broncos. They're looking more impressive each week. Maybe San Diego gets in there with a wild card. Probably only 1 team from the South. Maybe the Colts make a splash with a wild card. But you're probably going to have 2 teams from the AFC North and that leaves another wild card option, and probably going to come out of the AFC East. And they're only one game behind Miami right now. Give this team a spark. This team needs some sort of spark, and the fans. I think the fans will be more sympathetic if you pull Sanchez and put Tebow in there and you lose a season, as opposed to lose the season and keep Sanchez in there. At least you gave it a shot.
If you're New York Jets fans right now, I think you got to put Tebow in. Tebow, same kind of situation in Denver. Team was terrible. Tebow goes in, doesn't have the best numbers ever, doesn't light the world on fire, but when it counted, he won games.
All he
Something
does is
about
win.
him.
All he does is win,
All
no
he
matter
does is
what.
win.
If we're going to go back to that song, I honestly have no idea what the song's called. It's not my forte. But that does it for NFL Talks. Up next, we're going to recap the World Series. To find out who won, you're going to have to stay locked right here into the Big Hit.
Today I'm going to talk about Patty. Patty's best characteristics, she's stupid. Stupid and ugly. Everything she does is ugly. Watch her eat. Watch her stuff her face. Look at her. Greasy hair, dirty fingernails. It makes me want to vomit. Get a life, Patty. Thank you.
You know, since this whole NHL lockout thing, the analyst thinks they can just demand stuff. I don't understand it. We've been in intense talks for the last few weeks.
I think this is fair.
I don't know.
I mean, make a change here, make it like that.
They want,
What about-
they,
what
they
about-
want a
what about
dressing
this?
room now.
Like,
We
no,
don't
okay.
have room for a dressing
We
room.
don't have room for dressing rooms.
But what if
so
we
they
compensate
make
with the
it
soap machine?
Okay, we'll
Good,
add in
good,
we'll
good.
add in that. Okay.
Okay.
You think this is good?
I don't even know why these guys are complaining.
I don't
We're
know.
good
Me neither,
today.
but
I don't
you know
know.
what?
Make
Sometimes you
them
gotta make
happy. Make them
sacrifices,
happy.
dude. You gotta make
Okay.
sacrifices.
As the analyst representatives, do you think this is fair?
Yeah, Freddie, I think it's pretty fair. I think this is a good deal.
Send them in.
They better give us what we want.
We worked too hard for too long.
If everything's not what I want on that paper, I'm walking right out of there.
I'm with you.
Okay, gentlemen, let's go.
Let's do this, boys.
Go.
Gentlemen, please sit down. Excuse me, sir. Sir.
We believe that this is the best deal to represent both sides equally. We hope you agree.
I think it's the best deal. I mean, you see here, all the X's and O's are right here.
I don't see what I wrote down.
And I don't see what I wrote down either.
But don't you guys want to be on TV? They don't accept the deal.
Are you serious?
We're never going to get anything done.
And welcome back to the only sports talk show that really matters. It's the Big Hit here on IUP-TV. Joining me now in the middle, another sharp-dressed man, as recent, I guess. Brent Warfel in the end. Kyle Pillar dressed in all black, still looking sharp, I guess. I guess complimenting my analyst today is the theme. I don't know. We'll see where that takes us. But guys, let's jump right on into this here as the World Series comes to a close, and your winners of the 2012 World Series are the San Francisco Giants. Surprisingly to some people. To us, though, not too sure. Kyle, going to start with you. They win for the second time in 3 years. Who's the most important player on this team that helped them win the title?
Well, congratulations, first of all, to the San Francisco Giants. They played one of the best postseasons I think I've ever seen. They had their backs up against the wall against Cincinnati down 2-0. They come back. They beat them. They beat the Cardinals, who won last year. And then they just rode that momentum into the World Series. And that's plain and simple. That's why they won the World Series. There was a couple pluses there. Their pitching staff did very well. Sergio Romo could close out absolutely anything. And then Panda has a great game. Marco Scudero has a good series. Buster Posey as well. But if I would say there's the most important player, it has to be the catcher, Buster Posey. He's kind of been the anchor to this team all season long. He came back
off of a knee injury sustained in May of 2011. He had a great comeback. I believe he's the comeback player of the year, but he was just he was on this 2010 team that won, and he just really, being only I believe in his third season, just really took on that leadership role in that clubhouse and brought his game to the World Series. And he had a modest one, but he did have the Grand Slam earlier in the postseason. So I think Buster Posey is probably one of the most important players that's going to be a part of this team for a couple of years to come.
Yeah, Buster Posey also, a little while down the road, we'll get into this, but could be a potential NL MVP candidate. But again, that's foreshadowing much longer down the road at least. But Brent, for you, who is the most important player on this Giants team? You could agree with Kyle that it's catcher Buster Posey, or pitching staff maybe, or Sergio Romo?
I think if I had to pick, I would go with the pitching staff just because of what they did. They really came together in the World Series. And the fact that, well, not the World Series, but the playoffs coming together as they did to win all those games and come back in, 6 straight games I believe they were down in the elimination games. Yeah. They came back from that. And the World Series with Pablo Sandoval hitting as well as he did, 500, I think he had, 3 home runs?
Yeah. Had a good series.
Yeah, an amazing series within the World Series. So he definitely finished it out for the Giants. But as far as getting them there, I would say the pitching staff. And Buster Posey did put this team on his back. He for sure anchored this team and played the captain role and did everything that he was supposed to.
Yeah, definitely. Buster Posey, the obvious team captain of the entire squad. Again, a catcher, real young guy, face of the franchise. He'll probably be there the next 8 to 9 years, or as long as he wants to play, or until he retires, quite frankly. That's just what I think. But again, one of my 2 important players on this team, Barry Zito, Madison Bumgarner. Zito goes 2-0. for this postseason. I believe a 2.2-something ERA. Pretty much allows barely any hits. And Bumgarner, too, out of Kutztown, local PA boy. 3-0, 1.5 ERA, something around that mark, I think. Again, just 2 great pitchers performing when they need to.
The thing that surprised me about this team so much was Tim Lincecum not performing. I thought that not having the best season or whatever happened there, I thought that he would really turn it on whenever his team needed him.
Yeah, we saw him struggle just early in the season, Brent, and that kind of made its way throughout the postseason. But I think Barry Zito is really, Tim kind of hinted at it. He's been called one of the biggest busts, I guess. He signed a relatively large contract and hasn't performed, but he shows up when the spotlight's the hottest. So, I agree with Tim in saying that Barry Zito was a big X factor in this World Series.
Yeah, and Sergio Romo, too. Again, against right-handed hitters, though, against that last at-bat against Cabrera, you knew what was coming. Slider low and away, and yet nobody could hit it. So just to prove how dominating you are, almost like Mariano Rivera in the cutter. You know it's coming, but you can't hit it. You can't hit it. Guys, I want to take a look at the team that got swept, the losers of this World Series, the Detroit Tigers. And I want to ask you guys, what do they need to fix if they need to fix anything? Verlander didn't do well game 1. Really, the only guy that performed this entire series was Max Scherzer, in my opinion. Yeah. But again, you guys could have a different opinion on that. You can talk about that if you want. But if you're Detroit, you got to look into the offseason now. What are your top priorities?
Well, Brent, I don't really think there's anything wrong with this Detroit team. I mean, they played well all season long, and they got to the World Series. The one thing that did stop them was the break, was the 7 days off between when they defeated the New York Yankees in the ALCS and then get into the World Series. So I think it was that period of time where, yes, it's good to have a rest or a break, but then at the same time, you lose all your momentum. And we saw that with San Francisco. They had their backs against the wall twice. They rode that wave of momentum, and that's what got them there. But if you're Detroit, I really wouldn't say that there's much you need to fix. I mean, there's a couple wrinkles here and there you can pan out. But, I mean, look at who you have. You have Prince Fielder. You have Miguel Cabrera, Triple Crown winner. You have a great pitching staff, all going to be back next year. So I don't really think there's much you can change.
I agree with you. I've never looked at it the way that you did with the rest. But I can see that because this game, baseball is not like a game of football where these players, they take advantage of the rest they have because it's such a demanding sport. Right. And I can see how you can really cool off your bat if you have that day's rest. Say you're on fire and it just goes down. I agree with that. But something that the Detroit Tigers could work on, besides Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer, if I even say that right, I think they need one more legitimate pitcher. I know they have a couple.
Doug Fister.
3 through 5. Yeah, he didn't play much, did he?
He got
that line drive off the head.
So they really need to get that third guy back and really get someone that can win 15+ games, and that could change the whole season and bring them back to right where they were.
So add one more dominant pitcher. I agree with you guys. I think you got to help that bullpen a little bit, and more than likely, in my opinion, Jose Valverde will be gone after this year, and Phil Koch will be the closer, in my opinion.
They declined
his option
today.
That's on Tuesday.
Yeah, that's rumor on the street on Tuesday. The Tigers decided not to use his option.
No, it's just a smart opinion by them because it was probably a real, not too expensive buyout, probably like $1.5 million, as a typical buyout clause normally is. But hey, well, actually, that's a great segue right there. I didn't even realize it. I'm going to shift back to the hometown, Pittsburgh Pirates. Jose Valverde is on the market. Let's see here. No, I just heard a no from the booth. So I want to ask you guys real quick. I know it's early. Who do you want to see the Pirates pick up? And there's several key things that they need to pick up, though. But if you agree or not, go for it. But who do they need to pick up?
I'm not going to really say who they need to pick up. It's who they need to let go, and that's General Manager Neil Huntington. And I think he's been a joke to this league for quite a few years. I mean, Brian, he's really stepped up in the last few seasons and getting the Pirates to be buyers at the deadline. But at the same time, he's not helping the city. I think he's the last major roadblock in getting to a 500 season or to the playoffs. But if you're Pittsburgh, you're right now you're looking at Garrett Jones and possibly Joel Hanrahan as trade bait because Jones is coming off a career year. He is 31. He had 25 home runs, but he's a power hitting, possible first baseman, right fielder. But I use him as trade bait. Joel Hanrahan too. I think they need to get another veteran pitcher in the starting rotation. You look at Sean Marco maybe from Milwaukee who could be up on waivers up for trade this year, but also I like Edwin Jackson too. So if you're Pittsburgh, you got to also find somebody that is a power hitting first baseman. So they have a couple slots to fill, but you got to get rid of Neil Huntington first.
I agree again with the office of it, eliminating someone from there because clearly they're not doing it right. They were on a streak before the All-Star break, and then they made all these moves, and it just seemed like it went downhill from there. Why would you break up a good thing? I can see that you wanted to bring someone in and give this lineup an extra boost, but I feel like if you take too many pieces away, it doesn't look the same.
Yeah, Chad Ball certainly wasn't anything special. And
Gabby Sanchez, I don't think worked out very well.
Yeah, but I think that was a fair trade because it was Gorkas Hernandez.
You're right. I mean, they did get it wasn't bad. But if I had to pick one person that they could possibly go out and get, I wouldn't even say one specific person, but a hitter. A hitter. You said the pitcher. A pitcher would work too. I think they could use both. They went and got A.J. Burnett last year. I think that they look at the bat side and they try to find someone swinging. Maybe A-Rod.
Maybe A-Rod. Who knows? I called it last year with Rod Barajas. This year, Edwin Jackson with Kyle Pillar. I'm agreeing with all that one. They need one more pitcher. I think they've got it. But guys, next time we get to talk about baseball, either a few weeks from now or February 13th when spring training begins. I'll let everybody else do the math to figure out how many days that is. But up next, we got a new season starting out here with the NBA. So stay tuned and make sure you catch that here on The Big Hit.
We're Steelers fans. I'm a Steelers fan. And we're Steelers fans. We're good sports. I'm a good sport.
I'm a good sport.
We always have
a designated
driver. Steelers fans don't let fans drive drunk. Responsibility has its rewards. Responsibility has its rewards.
Go!
Go Steelers! Go Steelers! Go Steelers!
Go Steelers!
Our analysts are really dedicated. They're constantly researching before the show, making sure they know all their information, their stats, their players, the team names. They're really good.
Saints, dude. Saints.
Right there.
Red Sox.
Red Wings.
Tigers.
Is that
Saints.
Columbus over there?
Phoenix Coyotes.
Arsenal.
Atlanta Falcons. Right there.
Arsenal, Chelsea.
Those are the Suns.
Flyers.
Guys. One at a time.
Sorry, Mike.
You got Boston down there. Welcome back into the Big Hit on the one and only IUP-TV. And joining me now in the middle, Josh Carney. On the end, Anthony Shear, always willing to come back for one more week. Oh, well, we love him for it anyway. But let's dive right on into it here. As said before the break, NBA season starting up Tuesday. So let's get right on into it, guys. And quite frankly, Oklahoma City made a big trade recently, trading guard James Harden, Cole Aldrich, and Daquan Cook, and another player to the Rockets for Kevin Martin, Jeremy Lamb, 2 first-round picks, and a second-round pick. Anthony, I'll throw it down to you first. Is there a winner to this team, or did one team get more than the other, or was it pretty much equal?
Trade-wise, I think it's pretty much equal. But if you're asking me what team got more hurt by it, I'd say the Thunder. I mean, you're using your third best scorer, your third best player, and they kind of shot themselves in the foot with this because they gave Serge Ibaka that $48 million contract in the summertime, and I disagree with that from the time it was signed. He's he's Dikembe Mutombo pretty much. He plays defense and he blocks shots, and he does not deserve $48 million over 4 years. You're paying him $12 million to maybe get 10 points a game and pull rebounds down. That's not enough for me. I would have gave that money to Harden. He's your third best scorer on this team. He's pretty much your sixth man. He leads that offense when Russell Westbrook has a bad night. You know what you're going to get from Kevin Durant, but to me, James Harden was the glue to that team. And it was always going to be Harden, Durant, and Westbrook was going to be the team that led them to the championship. And now they went from a team that I thought would go to the finals to a team that's maybe not going to.
Yeah, I agree with you. I really think the Thunder lost out in this deal. But at the same time, how are you going to keep James Harden with Kevin Durant, Serge Ibaka, Russell Westbrook, not the NFL quarterback, signing the long-term deals that they signed? Someone had to go. It's similar to the Penguins situation with Jordan Staal and all them. Harden was the one that was expendable. He was going to get the most back. You can't trade Kevin Durant. He's your star. Russell Westbrook can't trade. He's your second option. And they basically handicapped themselves with the Ibaka deal. But Harden had to go. They got a lot back in return. I think Jeremy Lamb is going to be a very good bench player for them. Kevin Martin can score at will for that second unit, basically as Harden did when he came off the bench. Those picks are going to come in handy for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
I agree. I mean, you could take those 2 picks, the 10th pick, and maybe move up in the lottery and get somebody else. But my problem with this is you lose Harden, and why couldn't you just keep Harden? He's a restricted free agent. See if you could trade Ibaka in the next offseason. Someone might take that deal if he improves offensively. And here's the thing that nobody forgets. Yes, Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant are great players and great teammates. Harden's more of his friend. And my feeling is he has a chance to opt out in 2014, 2015. Who says he doesn't go to Houston? I mean, that's an option. He went to the University of Texas. He has roots down there. To me, that could be a considerable option if they sign James Harden to a max deal, which I hear they're going to do. Yeah. So I don't think Durant will leave, but we see in sports now that it's more about your friends and who you like playing with than it is about loyalty to the team.
Yeah, as I said, I really think the Thunder handicapped themselves with that Ibaka deal. Harden was the one that had to go. They had to do it before the season because you can't have that distraction lingering in the locker room, on the court. They did what was best for that entire organization, and I applaud them.
Yeah, I mean, if there's definitely one guy that does have to be expendable, it would have been Harden, 6-man, and handicapped yourself with the Ibaka deal. But real quickly, guys, how does Harden impact Houston teaming up there with Jeremy Lin? Does he have the same kind of numbers, or is he kind of downgrade statistically?
I think he has to be the guy now. He's never been asked to be the guy. He has to be the guy now. He was always the guy that's like, all right, give me the shots. I know that I'm playing more of the second unit guys defensively. He's the guy now. Him and Lin have to carry that team. I think they're a playoff team, but that's just me.
I don't think Houston's a playoff team. We talked about this earlier, but it'll be interesting to see James Harden go up against, stars instead of second unit guys where he dropped 20, 25 points a game. I don't think he's going to be that guy. I think he's just going to be a solid second option. I think Houston has to go out and get another star. But Jeremy Lin and Harden, it's going to take him a while to create some chemistry there. And then in the front line, they have Chandler Parsons and a bunch of no-names. I don't see them being a playoff team.
I like Royce White. I like what they're building down there. I mean, I agree with you. He's going to be a max deal guy, so he has to put numbers up. I just think that eventually he's going to have to get more players.
Yeah, we'll see there, guys. But right now, I'm going to throw some key games of the first week coming at you. I want you guys tell me what you think of the matchups and who are going to be the key performers. First game, Boston at Miami.
Well, it begins and ends with LeBron James. That's it. Best player in the league right now. I think the Heat are on their way for another successful year.
Yeah, this game is going to be an awesome game to watch. Two rivals going at each other. But the storyline everyone's forgetting, Ray Allen taking on his former teammates who have a little bit of a beef with him right now. So it should be interesting to see.
I was going to say, yeah, I worded it wrong, guys. I'm sorry. Boston, Miami playing tonight, Tuesday. We're a little tape delay. It was when we air Wednesday. This game will already be in the books. Yeah. So, again, I don't know. Just think of it that way, I guess.
Miami wins.
Miami wins. Sure.
Miami wins.
Miami wins. Next game happening also on Tuesday. Dallas at L.A.
Oh,
Lakers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Some people think that's going to be the matchup, but let's see what you guys have to say.
I think the Lakers are overrated, but that's just me. And you can huff and puff all you want, Josh. I think Kobe's hurt. You have to rely on Dwight Howard coming off back surgery. Steve Nash is almost older than me.
No way.
Yes, way. And then you have only the player that I actually think is going to perform is Powell on this team. And you're asking if they had Dirk, Dallas did, I would actually like Dallas in this matchup, but they don't.
With Eddie Curry at center.
You can put you at center.
Oh, come on.
With Dwight Howard, I don't know.
Listen.
I think the Lakers win.
I will take an 80% Kobe over anybody not named LeBron James in the league any day.
All right.
Wow, harsh
Even
word.
Kevin Durant.
I forgot about Kevin Durant. I'm sorry. Goose, I'm sorry. Other than LeBron or Durant.
Okay, well, I'm glad that's all settled, guys. We're going to look at a couple more games occurring later in the week. First one, Anthony, I know you're really liking this team I'm about to mention. The Denver Nuggets at the Philadelphia 76ers. Some expect the Nuggets to perform this year. A little bit of a homecoming for Andre Iguodala. I don't know how well he'll be treated in his return to Philly. I can assume some cheers, maybe a couple boos.
There will be cheers for him.
I hope there will be cheers.
No
but
boos.
Yeah, right.
Okay, we're not going to get into the fan base, but just talk about that game, guys.
I mean, you know how much I love the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets are maybe the second or third best team in the West. I mean, it's a very deep team. Ty Lawson just got a contract extension today, 4 years at $48 million. I think he's an up-and-coming point guard. Iguodala, Gallinari, McGee, it plays well. And then Fareed. I like that starting lineup. I like who they have coming off the bench. It's a very deep team. George Karl is a great coach. I think this team could make a run to the Western Conference Finals.
This is going to be an interesting game. I personally really like the Philadelphia 76ers. Yes, you heard me say I like a Philly team. This team is loaded, and you get, in my opinion, the best center in the league in Andrew Bynum, who is healthy, hasn't had any knee operations in the offseason. This team is dangerous. Drew Holiday at point guard. They bring in Darrell Wright, who had his best year ever in the NBA out at Golden State last year. He's going to come off the bench. Thaddeus Young, Evan Turner, Spencer Hawes. This team is loaded, and they are going to make a serious push with the Miami Heat for Eastern Conference representative.
Well, one thing Philadelphia has there in Andrew Bynum, too, is a man down in the paint who can rebound and score in the paint, something they haven't had in a pretty long time.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Elton Brand and Spencer Hawes there, but, I mean, Elton Brand, he's not the Elton Brand of old. No. Never was, probably never will be again. Getting Bynum, good pickup for that Philly team, I think, anyway. Yeah. I want to preview a couple more games. Houston at Detroit. Again, Houston because James Harden. We just talked about that. How do you think he does with his first game with his new team, and do you think Detroit has any signs of life to him this year?
I think Detroit does. I mean, I like Greg Monroe as a center. I like what they're building there. But to me, I'm interested to see Lynn and Harden go together, play how well they're going to play together. It's going to be rough the first couple weeks. I'll give you that. It's going to be a growing process. But to me, it's going to be interesting. I would take Houston in that game.
This is going to be an interesting matchup. I think Harden drops 35+. He's just going to go out there and score. But I'm going to pay attention to Detroit's frontmen, Andre Drummond and Greg Monroe. See how those two perform. I think those two can be a formidable force defensively and maybe make that Detroit team a playoff team.
Maybe make them a playoff team. All right, one more game. Oklahoma City at San Antonio. I think that's going to be one of the better matchups of the week. Just my opinion. What do you guys think?
Give me the old and crusty team. I'll take San Antonio.
I completely agree with you.
Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker. I'll take the old and crusty team.
Tony Parker's best point guard in the league. He's proved it now for the last 3 years. Tim Duncan continues to get it done. One player that is going to have a role in this game, he'll have a role in regular season, will be DeJuan Blair, Pitt product. He has a big-time role in the regular season, but playoffs come around, and Popovich doesn't trust him. He'd rather go with Thiago Splitter, and I don't understand it.
I mean, I like Splitter. Splitter's a good player. I mean, you got Ginobili, you got Parker, you got Duncan. I mean, it's going to be interesting because now they have to see if Kevin Martin and Jeremy Lamb can step in quickly to refill what Harden left. You know, it's going to be interesting. I like the Thunder long term, but starting out, they're going to have some growing pains, just like Houston, just like some of these other teams.
And if Eric Maynard can stay healthy, he provides a threat off the bench like Harden was. I'm not going to say he's going to score like Harden, but he's going to pass the ball. He's going to play solid defense. He can score when he needs to. This guy was a very good player at VCU back in college, and he's battled injuries here and there. He's torn an ACL. You know, this is his coming out year, I believe, and I think he's going to be the threat that could really push Oklahoma further than they went last year.
We'll have to see about that, but that does it for this segment. Got the shooting guard Josh Carney, the sixth man off the bench.
Wow, that's
Anthony Shear.
That's off hurtful. The bench. I can't even play point. Wow, that's hurtful.
You got to be a little taller to play point.
Wow. Wow. All right. We'll go out on the court and see that.
Done with that one. That does for NBA.
Graduating this year, so we're in a pretty big transition phase. So I'm training Danielle to be the new director. I think she'll get it.
And welcome back to the final segment of the Big Hit. We like to call this one Rapid Fire. Today, it's going to be a little NFL pick'em. I'm joined in the middle by Bree Spitzer, and on the end, Darla Owens. And ladies, we got some games to preview. Let's dive right on in and get on into it. First game I wanted you two to preview is the Steelers at the Giants. Steelers coming off that win against the Redskins. Giants narrowly hanging on against Dallas last week. Darla, start down with you. Who do you got winning this game and why?
I actually think this will be one of the most exciting games of the weekend because it has some of the best quarterbacks with Roethlisberger and Manning. However, I do have the Giants pulling out on this one. The Steelers will have trouble with the Giants' wide receivers, and the Giants' Jason Paul, Pierre Paul, and Chris Candy will drive Ben out of the pocket and force turnovers, and I think that'll be the deciding factor of the game, so I have the Giants winning this one.
I actually agree with you, too. I know a lot of people are going to think Steelers after their game and their wonderful performance against the Redskins, but I feel what makes the Giants special is they know how to win games, which is key.
It's very true.
Exactly. Yeah, they Eli Manning is was his 25th career win as a fourth quarter he's a comeback. Yeah. And I think that's going to be key because they know how to win the games, which the Steelers, they have good games and bad games, but it's not always consistent.
Well, it's also a home game for the Giants, so that's
exactly, and that's
helping
huge.
factor.
Yeah, definitely. So
Well, I don't know how much it's going to help them. Again, the Steelers had a good game against
it definitely will be close.
Against the Redskins, definitely be close. Expect Dwyer to have another big rushing game, just in my opinion. The minibus rolls through New York, continues the winning streak for the Steelers. Next game, the Philadelphia Eagles at New Orleans in the Superdome. Who do you got and why?
I actually have the Saints winning. Both of them are having a rough season, and the only thing is the Saints are in desperation mode. They really have to click on, and I think they'll click on the offense, and that'll be what'll win them the game. Vic will also make a very late mistake in the fourth quarter, and that'll cost them the entire game. So I'm gonna go with that as a prediction.
I feel like I'm picking the Eagles for the same exact reason. This is the make it or break it time, especially with all the controversy of Andy Reid losing his job. And Michael Vick too. They're trying to think of changing quarterbacks, but when you invest so much money in a quarterback, you need to play him. And Andy Reid has been making bad calls, firing the 12th ranked defensive coordinator 2 weeks ago. I mean, I don't know what is going on, but this Eagles need to get their fans rallied.
Well, and they have Matt Forte, so why not, put him in just to try him? He did good against the New York Jets in the preseason, so why not try? Because Vic is doing pretty bad this year.
I know, but I mean, they need to do something, and now's the game to prove it. Because the Saints are in a similar situation as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think we'll quite see Nick Foles just yet for the Eagles, but
definitely will be soon. I feel
definitely
if he doesn't pull it together.
I got to go New Orleans though. They've got something to play for, high-powered offense. With the way the Eagles' defense has been, not a. And I like the Eagles, but again, New Orleans is winning this one. Let's move it along here. We got Tampa Bay at Oakland. Again, who you got and why?
I actually have Tampa Bay winning. It'll be a very close game. Both quarterbacks are actually doing really well, and I know Anthony Shearer is hating me right now because we both have Oakland winning their division. But this game, I'm actually choosing Tampa. Carson Palmer and Josh Freeman will both have fabulous games, so I'll just pull out with Tampa on this one.
Yeah, he threw for 262 yards last game. He was doing phenomenal. But both teams are coming out with the same record, so it'll definitely be close.
Yeah.
But I'm going with the Bucs on this one. After Doug Martin's performance, first round pick from Boise State. He's
definitely showing his worth as a rookie.
Exactly, he totally is, and he broke records for having more than 135 rushing yards and more than 75 receiving yards. That's the first time in Buccaneer history. So
yeah, so second straight win. I'll go with Tampa.
Yeah, me too.
All right, let's keep moving along. Carolina at Washington.
This will actually be a surprise game. I'm actually going to go with Carolina on this one just because with the Steelers playing Washington last week, the Washington's offense got exposed, and RG3 will still have a great game, but Cam Newton, I think, will have a better one. So I'm going to go with Carolina on this one.
I'm going to have to disagree. I feel RG3 is looking to recover from last week. He was doing good all season, and he was shut down by the Steelers.
Oh, yeah.
He's looking to regain. He only was 16 for 34 with 177 yards passing, which is way lower than his previous record. So I'm going to go for the Redskins.
All right.
Chalk it up, Redskins. That's all I'm going to say. Buffalo at Houston. Houston, again, they're having a good season this year, but Buffalo, hey, you never know. What do you think happens?
They're both coming off a bye week, but I think it's kind of a no-brainer. Houston is going to win this one. Houston has a ground game and a defensive line that'll definitely give the Bills a lot of trouble. And I just think it's an easy game for Houston.
I think it's pretty much a giveaway. The only hope for the Bills is if Mario Williams comes ready to play. He's coming back to his previous place of employment, so maybe that'll be a push for the Bills to win. But
maybe.
I'm going to go with the odds and say the Texans.
Texans, all right. We got Miami, Indianapolis up next.
All right. Miami is actually, I think they're a very underrated team, but especially after destroying the Jets last week.
They never get any credit.
Yeah, they never do. But Ryan Tannehill may or may not play this week. But Matt Moore is still good. But I actually have Indianapolis winning this one just because the Colts have a better offense, even though the Dolphins have a better defense. But either way, I think the Colts will come back because Luck comes back in the fourth quarter. He's good with his comeback, so I'm going to go with the Colts on this one.
I'm going to disagree with you again and go with the Dolphins. It'll be a close game no matter what, and they definitely need to watch out for Luck. But 30-9, a win against the Jets, that's huge. So their morale is definitely going to be up.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll be tough, though, since it's home for the Colts. But
and Miami's doing so good, it could go either way.
Exactly.
All right. Last game, Denver at Cincinnati.
Well, Cincinnati lost against the Browns, so I really have no credibility for Cincinnati. So I'm going to go with Denver. And because Denver has Peyton Manning, which is one of the best quarterbacks, and he's having a really great season nonetheless. So I'm going to go with Denver on this one.
Same exact reason. Peyton Manning is just blowing me away. He has 305 yards last game with 3 touchdowns. And overall, last game, the team had 530 yards, which is a season high for them. And I feel like they're going to keep the streak going.
I completely agree.
For sure.
Clean sweep. Broncos. Put it down in the books. I don't know. Put it down whatever you put it in. But you know what? That does it for this episode of The Big Hit. Make sure you catch us every Wednesday through Friday, 10 p.m., the one and only IUP-TV. You missed any previous shows? Check us out on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. Also, check out the brand new Facebook page. Well, that's enough for us. That's enough for the plugs. For Director Jess Owalk, producer Josh Carney, I'm Tim Quigley. We'll see y'all later.